Welcome, everybody, to Psychology 157. My name is Mike Lee. I'm the instructor here. If you want something formal, you can call me Dr. Lee if you want to. Otherwise, Mike Lee is just fine. So let's go ahead and hop right in. These videos are going to look different by the time you see them. I'm just recording them, obviously, before I posted it, but by now they look different for you guys. So I'm just going to skip over these. These are my old ones. Basically, I've changed the class a little bit since the first time I taught this. This is actually only the second time teaching this class. Well, actually, most of you guys probably know. I actually teach English most of the time. So that's kind of good for you guys, I guess, that if you have me in English, then you know exactly kind of what I want in my writings. And how to write them, how to write my essays. If you're not, one of the things that I do is I focus a lot on feedback in your writing, and I can probably say with 100% accuracy that you won't get much feedback in the rest of your college career. That's something, actually, you know what, I'm still a student as well. I have a PhD in psychology, and most of the time that's where people stop is, at the PhD level, but I wanted to do more than just research. My PhD in psychology allows me to do a lot of research. Actually, that's where I am right now. I'm in my office at Lewis and Clark College, where I do research. That's actually all I do all day, but it's actually pretty boring. I mean, my research is interesting, but I'm in a room by myself like all day, and after coming from teaching for a long time, it's a little agonizing. So moving into kind of teaching more, and so I'm a student again because I want to be able to apply my understanding of psychology, and so I'm actually a student at Lindenwood getting another master's in counseling so that I can do that as well. My first master's was in education, and that's what allowed me to teach. Anyways, the reason I say that, I forget why I said that at all. But anyways, moving on. Go ahead and open up your syllabus. Oh, right, I was talking about that because I've changed all of this, and I was talking about how you probably won't get much feedback in your writing. That's something I've experienced. I thought it was normal. Being an English teacher, I thought everybody gave good feedback, but apparently you don't really get any feedback. And my wife and I were both taking the class, and that's one of her biggest complaints is that she never gets any feedback. As far as the content of her essay goes, 90% of our teachers just grade, grammar, mechanics, things like that. So that's something I kind of pride myself on a little bit, giving you a lot of feedback. And so if you don't, if you haven't had me in the past, that's something I guess maybe to look forward to. That also kind of makes me a strict grader, I think. But maybe not. Maybe not. People have had me in the English class. We do that one assignment where I have people in my current class grade someone's essay from the prior class, and then I'm always like a lot easier at grading it than everybody else. Everybody else like gives them like an F, and I'm like, oh, I thought it was a B. But anyways, let's go and take a look at the syllabus real quick. Obviously, this is psychology of leadership, and this is the winter quarter. Now, I'm going to stop referring to dates in an effort to not have to record this video new every semester. So if you're beyond winter 2018, you're in the future. So congratulations. But I'm not going to refer to any dates. And so if you see a date that's different from, basically if you're not in winter quarter 2018, the dates are going to be all screwed up. So don't pay attention to any of the dates. Just pay attention to the content. If the content changes, I'll re-record the video, which is why I'm re-recording it now. But otherwise, I'll probably keep this video. So anyways, Mike Lee, PhD, location online. In the future, this will probably be an in-class classroom. If you took me for English this last semester, or maybe a semester prior, I guess that would be summer 2018, I talked a lot about how this class is actually becoming a full cluster, a 3-class cluster. It'll be Intro to Psych, this class, Psychology of Leadership, and then also another class that I just got approved and just finished creating the curriculum for. It's called Cultural Psychology, I think, or Psychology of Culture or something like that. And we teach that as a cluster, and that'll start in summer. Now, if you're taking this class now, I don't know if you can take the cluster because you'll be already have completed one of the classes, but I don't know. You'll have to check with your advisor on that if you're interested in taking that cluster. And I don't think I teach any other classes if you like this class. And if you took my English class, well then this is the end of the road for you, I think, unless you plan on coming back for that cluster. Okay, so here's my contact info. If you had me, you know I'm okay with texting. If you haven't had me before, make sure you text me any questions. I'm going to be texting you questions, so don't feel bad for texting me. If I'm ever missing an assignment from you, I'll probably text you and I'll say, hey, where's your assignment? Or if I can't find something, or if I have a question, or, I mean, if we're in class, which we're not, usually I'll text people and be like, hey, we're not having class tonight for whatever reason, or class got canceled. But this is online. You guys don't really have that luxury of missing class or getting classes canceled. You just do it online and that's it. So here are the books. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That's basically going to be the first, what was that, 4 weeks of class, I think. We cover that. And then the second 4 weeks will be the Psychology of Leadership book. And then the third, last 4 weeks, actually the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I can't remember how it's broken down. I'll show you in the schedule. Emotional intelligence. And the way that that breaks down is this class actually kind of forms as what I call a toolbox. Basically, as you go through your undergraduate, excuse me, the instructors don't expect you to master everything in the class. Really what we're trying to get you to do is pull little bits and pieces out and create your own toolbox. So you pull out the things that are important to you, and then whenever you get into the career field, whatever you're going into, then you're able to take these these tools in your toolbox, in your mental toolbox, these theories or these ideas or these concepts or these skills that we teach you, and hopefully you take the ones that you think are going to be applicable to you. That way when you get into the career field, you can use those skills and have some kind of mastery behind them. And so for this class, it's mostly talking about motivation theory, how you can motivate people and how you can motivate yourself. And then emotional intelligence, kind of interesting because this is more or less an introductory concept because nearly no one really looks into this. And so that's kind of an insight theory. And then leadership theory. This is really kind of an interesting concept because they ask what makes a leader, and that obviously is kind of sounds like an easy question, but whenever you think about it, how can one person be a good leader and have a certain set of skills, and then another person completely different have a completely different set of skills and maybe be even horrible at some of the things that the first person was good at, but then both people are still good leaders. And so it's really contextualized, at least becoming a leader, and they talk a lot about what it really boils down to. And so I'll leave that for the reading, but according to these guys, it's kind of a new theory. They talk a lot in the first couple chapters about the history of leadership, psychology and leadership. And one of the things I want to kind of emphasize here is that these guys, Haslam, Riker, and Platow, they are trying to sell their new theory. And not that that makes it a bad theory. I'm just saying I actually agree with most of the stuff that's in there. But that also is to say that you shouldn't discount the prior theory, the theory that they're building on, because it's just as important. And there might be some elements of this new theory that maybe just don't work in your context. But some of these older historical theories, they might. And so that's why I'm saying don't discount the first 2 or 3 chapters simply because it talks about history, because that history is what evolved into what they're saying is the new psychology of leadership. And we talk about how basically the different skills we're going to explore, and then scroll down to the point values. Now let me look at these real quick. I'm going to make sure these are still right. Yes, I think so. Well, yes, it's just this says exams, plural, there's only one. And so that midterm is worth 30% of your grade, so that's kind of important. But the thing about the midterm, if you scroll down to the next page, you'll be able to, well, if you scroll way down here, we talk about exams, but I'll just go ahead and tell you while we're up here that this covers the first 6 weeks of the class. And actually, really just the first 5 weeks, because in week 6 we actually take the exam, and then week 7 through 11 we start different content. And then the class actually concludes, instead of a final, you have a research paper. And that's kind of common for my classes. If you've had me before, that's a normal practice of mine. So first things first, the first assignment, you should have received an email from your advisor, and it should talk about I can't remember what the assignment is because I don't make the assignment. The school made it, or someone at the school made it. And so you should receive an email, and it gives you an assignment. It's basically write a 1 to 2 page paper on your opinion about something. I can't remember what it was because honestly I haven't seen it. But that is worth 5% of the grade. I'm kind of using that as an introductory paper so I can see where your writing level's at. That way I can help you to kind of progress. Because my idea here, one of 2 things. You're going to go into the career field, and you'll need whatever your career field is, probably HR. I think this is really a highly emphasized class for anybody going into HR or management or anything like that. And so the writing aspect of this, whenever you get into the career field, I try to make sure that you're able to communicate. And I know, this isn't an English class, but I need you to be able to communicate. We're teachers are kind of having this buzzword writing across the curriculum, and we're trying to make sure that if you learn nothing else, you at least learn how to communicate via writing and typing and everything like that. So anyways, Where was I going with that? Well, a touch of ADD going on here. The first assignment, 5%. That paper, write that. Oh, and then the second part of it. Why do I focus on writing so much? One, so you can communicate in your career field. Two, so I'm going to assume either you're going into a career field or you're going into a master's. No one gets a bachelor's in whatever and then just doesn't do anything. They either use it in the career field or they move on to a master's. And so at the master's level writing, it gets a little bit more difficult. And so I'm trying to make sure that I prepare you at least for your first semester in grad school, because that first writing assignment in grad school, if you go to grad school, is going to be kind of a shocker. And I noticed that a lot of people, maybe not a lot of people, but a couple people are graduating this semester, or at least within the next semester. And so that's something, if you're planning on going to grad school, we have to make sure that you're to the right level to where you can write in that class. No matter what it is, if it's friggin' math, you're still probably going to have to write. So self-reflection essays, I'll expand on those in a second. Like I said, the midterm is the only exam where 30% covers weeks 1 through 5. Participation, that's just discussions. Typical online class will have online discussions. They are a little bit more thought-provoking questions. It's not just like, what do you think? You actually have to put some context in there. You can't just be like, oh yeah, good. My first day at school was this. Oh, cool. And then you give that reply like, oh, cool. I really liked how your first day of class was interesting. My first day of class was interesting. It's going to be a little bit more thought-provoking than that, I hope. At least that's how my online classes were. We would just talk about stuff. And I would say like the most generic stuff, and then someone would reply back to me repeating what I just said. And, oh, I really liked how you thought the color blue was pretty. And it's like there's no real thought going on here. So hopefully my discussions are a little bit more thought-provoking. Presentation. That comes at the end of the class. It'll just be you recording a video and basically kind of overview of what you did for the project in class. Because there's kind of a large project well, the research essay is a large project, but it's a little bigger than just writing an essay, and I'll explain that in just a second. Late policy, 10 points per day. So if it's due Sunday and you turn it in Wednesday, that's Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, so minus 30 points. And most everything in here is worth 100 points anyways, and so you might minus the 30, you get a 70 there. You have a one-time late pass. Two, basically, if you're in my English class, same idea. In this class, if you need to turn something in late, maybe you're working on that the research paper is due the last day of class. Don't turn that in late. But if you're working on one of your self-reflection essays and you need to turn it in late, like just for whatever reason couldn't get around to it, or you forgot about it, or whatever, you can turn it in late. You just have to tell me you want to use the late pass. You'll have a 0 until you turn it in, and then I'll apply your late pass. And basically, it's a free late pass. You can push it off as long as you want. You could turn that assignment in the very last day of class, and I'll give you full credit. Well, I'll grade it, of course, but you'll have potential to earn full credit on that. That's a one-time deal, though. Oh, and here's the deal. You must notify me prior to being late, because a lot of times you'll forget, or I'll forget, and then I like to be able to stay on top of that type of stuff, so I want to know what your intentions are. So if you're not going to use a late pass on it, you're just going to leave the 0, let's do that. But let me know. One-time late pass, oh, I already talked about that. Here's the grading scale. That's not any different from any other class. Withdrawal dates, I don't really have anything to do with that. I don't even really know what the withdrawal date is, but you can ask your advisor. They'll be able to tell you. Don't plagiarize, obviously. Or academic dishonesty, too. There's two different things. Academic dishonesty, because plagiarism technically, I mean, realistically, it needs to be published for you to plagiarize something, but if you take something from someone else, or maybe you take something from a prior essay that you wrote, excuse me, that's technically academic dishonesty. Kind of the same deal. Don't do either of them. If you want to use a prior essay, because I am an English teacher, I'm a really big advocate for the revision process. So if you're wanting to revise a paper, then I'll need you to turn it into me first, and then if somehow it fits in this class and you want to use it, great, but I'll need to see a baseline of that essay so that I can see that you're actually revising it and making it better. But we'll talk about that. It's a very unique scenario. I don't think I've ever had that happen in this class. It happens in my English class all the time, but not in this class, because it has to be based in psychology and specifically leadership psychology. So rarely does anybody have an essay that they can use. But anyways, if that's the case, let me know. We can talk about it. Attendance, you have to log in once a week. But basically, if you're doing there's assignments every week. So if you're doing your assignments, you're naturally showing up and you're logging in to turn in the assignment, so you're good. If you miss 2 weeks of class, though, like if you don't log in for 2 weeks, then you'll have to give you an F, based on non-attendance. So sorry, that's 3 weeks. 2 absences. If you're gone for 2 weeks, that's a drop in the letter grade. 3 absences is a failing grade. It's the same deal with your in-class clusters. So if you miss 2 days, you drop a letter grade. But if you miss 3, then you're actually failed from the class. Full plagiarism policy. You can check that if you want. It's the same as every other class you've ever been into. Learning objectives. You can check those out. Basically, there's 3 main skills I'd like everybody to use before they leave here. Participation, that's weekly. Make sure this is still beginning of week 1. Yeah, students, I'm not gonna break you guys into groups. Actually, you can nix this. I'm just gonna have full class discussion. So don't worry about the group leader. I'm gonna delete that. None of this is true anymore. I thought I deleted it, but I guess not. But still, your participation assignments are still based on weekly discussion questions, individual questions, like if I pose a question to you in there and you reply to it, that counts. Engagement with other students, so every week when you do a post, you'll have to have a reply to another peer. And participation's at 7 points per week. I think that's correct. 75 points for participation. Yeah, there you go. So it's 7 points per week, or at least an average of about that. Now here's where the class, this is kind of the bulk of the class right here. The field study and presentation. I want you guys to be able to see the theories that are in this class in action, because it's really difficult to learn theories, first of all. And I don't know how many other classes you actually learn theories in, because as I'm coming back to being a student in this class, I'm realizing that I've kind of had these rose-colored glasses on when I went through my PhD, because it was a PhD. It's like the top level of the class, and so I'm learning now that I'm going back to the master's level and I'm working with these peers. One of the biggest problems that I see in my peers in this other class is that they don't understand the concept of theory and how you take theory and apply it. How do you choose a theory? How do you apply the theory? How do you know you're applying the right theory? The thing is that when you're talking about these theories, the idea is that you're finding one that you think applies, and you're making the argument that it applies in whatever way. And so that is what we're doing here. I want you to think about a theory that we cover in class. It can be we're going to start building on this in week 5, I think. I'm looking for it here. At one point after the 3rd week, students will choose an organization. So there we are. So the idea here is that you're going to choose an organization. It can be the organization you work for. So if you just want to go to work and observe some kind of leadership role there, or maybe if you are in the leadership role, or if you observe your leadership, the idea here is for you to look at that situation and make the argument that some theory in this class applies to that situation. And so here it kind of says that the field study will include an observation of a level of leadership within an organization. It's your choice. It can be your workplace, but if you want to take off work and go to the, I don't know, public library, look at their leadership, or if you want to go to a local school and observe their leadership, or maybe go to a business, whatever. It's your choice. Just tell me what you want to do. We'll talk about that in week 3. In week 8, students will analyze their observation, so you'll make a 60-minute observation, wherever that is, 60-minute field study, and you'll make that observation, you'll analyze that observation with regard to the theory covered in class. So if you're at an observation, and say we're talking, we talk about self-determination theory, I think next week, in week 2, might even be this week, but anyways, if you go out and you do this observation, you're like, oh, I feel like that's self-determination theory because that supervisor's trying to build the employees or the subordinate. They're trying to build employees motivation level by increasing their autonomy or increasing their relatedness. And you'll learn all about self-determination theory. But if you do the observation, you think you see the elements of the theory, then you're going to make that argument that, yes, I think I saw it here in this observation, and here's why. And that's kind of that research part. And of course, you'll have to do some actual research, like actual in-the-field research by doing the field study. But then also you have to come back and do kind of that secondary research to where you're finding resources in the library, and basically, because you have to explain to me the theory, so you have to kind of become the master of that theory. That's kind of why that toolbox. I don't expect you to master every theory in here. I expect you to find a theory that you agree with, that you can quote unquote subscribe to, that basically you believe in, and then tell me why you think that. When you have to explain the theory to me, and like I said, become the master of that theory, of the one theory that you apply to. Students produce an essay described on the next page. The essay will be presented in class during week 10, which is actually week 11. But you'll see that stuff. There's the exams. I talked about the midterm self-reflection research papers. These are kind of practice for the real research paper. Is every 3 weeks, I think. I have you kind of do the exact same thing, but you're just talking about it in your own life. So in the first 3 weeks, we cover a couple theories. And during those first 3 weeks, think about the theories that we covered, and think about how one kind of appeared in your life, or you think one appeared in your life in some form or fashion within those first 3 weeks. Then in the second 3 weeks, we go over another bundle of theories. And I want you, in these reflection essays, to tell me how you think that theory manifested in your life again. And then, of course, in the third one, you'll do the same thing. And those are in weeks 2, 5, and 8, if I think that's correct. And if not, I mean, I'll break these down each week so you'll be able to find them. Field study essay, that's the essay version. After you do the field study, you'll have to actually write the essay, like I said, a research paper where you're in the field doing research, and then you come back to the library and do some research. Basically, you have to have these 6 things. A thesis that drives the essay, a literature review of the chosen theory. So basically you have to open your essay with, here's a discussion on the theory I chose, and I'm going to, you will explain the theory to me, explain the theory using outside sources, and show me how the theory's been used in other research and things like that. An explanation of the organization. So after you tell me about the theory, tell me about the organization that you chose to observe. And tell me all about your actual observation. Tell me about your time there. Tell me about your 60 minutes in this organization while you're observing. An in-depth description of the observation, that's what I just said. An analysis using the chosen theory as a lens through which to interpret the observation you're finding. So now that you've told me about the theory and you've told me about the observation, how does the theory change that view of the observation? So you tell me the general. So I saw Mr. Smith counseling Mr. Thomas, and during this time he was talking more about how he wants Mr. Thomas to take control of his work. He wants Mr. Thomas to be in charge of his group or something like that, or take charge of his group. Using your theory, what does that look like in the theory? So if I was looking at it, I would say, well, that looks like Mr. Smith is trying to get his employee to build his motivation, like I said, self-determination theory, build his motivation by increasing his autonomy, because self-determination theory tells us that if you increase a person's autonomy, competence, and relatedness, we'll learn all about that later, then it increases their motivation. So you would tell me how that theory kind of looks, or how that observation looks through that lens of the theory, and we'll talk all about that more in-depth, much in-depth later. And then, of course, the conclusion. The weird thing about this class, I'll tell you, is that we use MLA guidelines. So here they are right here. Take a quick look at these guys right here. Because this is a psychology class, and it's very weird because if you go into further psychology classes, you'll be using APA, and that stands for the American Psychological Association. Basically, it's an organization that says this is how we want our papers written, and everybody in the psychology field follows that. However, my department chair says that most of you students won't be using APA ever again, so she suggested that I use MLA, which is Modern Language Association, which is what I teach in my English classes. So if you took me for English, you know how to write these papers because it's still MLA formatting. And basically this kind of breaks it down, and during the weeks I'll explain how to write those papers, how to use MLA formatting. Here's all the technical jargon I have to tell. Well, technical jargon, it's technical explanations about why we do what we do here at Lindenwood, so go ahead and check those out. The code of conduct, reasonable disabilities accommodation. So if you have any kind of disabilities, you have to let me know, otherwise I can't accommodate to them if I don't know about them. And in general, if you have any questions from this class, feel free to contact Dr. Barbara Hosto-Marty. She is the program director for this program, for psychology program. And so if there's any questions I can't answer, She can definitely answer him because, like I said, she's the program director. She knows a little bit more about this program than I do. So anyways, that is the syllabus. So go ahead and go back home real quick. How long is my video here? I can't tell. Hopefully it's not too long. So now, real quick, I just want to go over the schedule because it's super easy, and I want to get over the rest of the stuff in a single video so you don't have to watch a second video. But basically, here's your course schedule. This is how things are going to break down by week. Week 1, there you go, 11-week guide to Winter 2018 Psychology Leadership. Now, if you're in the future, if this is any other semester, these dates are going to look screwy, like I said, but stick with the weeks, okay? Just line them up to whatever your syllabus says now, because if you're in the future, you'll have a different, your dates will be different. But basically, the way this breaks down is the dates over here, that's the beginning of the week. So week 1 in this semester begins on this date. If you're in the future, obviously you have a different date written there, so go by whatever is written on your syllabus. The Sunday, that week ends, week 1 ends on this date over here. And like I said, if you're in the future, these dates are going to be screwy. But basically, Monday to Sunday, that's how our weeks break down. So these are the things we'll be covering during the week. These are the things that are due at the end of the week on Sunday by midnight. So make sure you do these things, and of course I'll have videos like this every week to where I show you what to do. And some of my other videos might have wrong dates too, even if you are in winter 2018. So if you notice dates, if you're in winter 2018 or winter 2019 or spring 2021, whatever, these dates are going to be screwy, so just go with whatever dates are written on your syllabus and schedule. But anyways, here's the topic that we're going to be covering that week. So in week 2, we'll be covering leadership and independence. And again, over here are the things that will be due on Sunday. So you can kind of take a look at that. You'll notice that down here, week 11 is our field study presentation and our field study essay. So that's due at the end. And if you remember from the syllabus, week 8, we start working on our works cited page for that essay. The rough draft is due on the 10th. Well, you know, whatever date's written there. And week 10 is the rough draft is due. What else? So in week 3, we choose our well, it doesn't say it here, but we choose our groups. Not our groups. Sorry, our organizations that we'll be observing. So we'll be talking about that a little bit in week 3. But anyways, take a look at that guide, and that will describe to you what we're doing and what assignments are due. But rest assured that all of your assignments will have due dates on them. You can see the same dates correspond here. And whenever you go down any of these weeks, they will all have a date here, but then also the assignments will also have dates that are due. So make sure you just go by whatever dates on this. That's basically when they're due, and that's when I'll be grading them. This authentication survey, I just learned about this. Apparently, you guys have to have a visual representation. Now, you have to, first of all, do something every week, and you have to do this survey. That's mandated by the college. I didn't make this survey. Honestly, I don't even know what's in the survey. They said, hey, you have to distribute this to your students, so that's what I'm doing. Now, part of that, too, is that we have to do periodic videos so that I know that it's you taking the class. So there are some assignments down here that require a video, namely the self-reflection, the tri-weekly ones, the ones that come every 3 weeks, where I tell you to review a theory and talk about it with regard to your life. After you write that paper, I also need a video from you, basically you explaining your paper. And the reason I do that is, like I said, to ensure that it's you taking the class, because I have to. The college says I have to do that. So anyways, make sure this week you do the authentication survey, and then you also do the first assignment block, which was due. That's that assignment that you should have gotten from your advisor. If you didn't get that, make sure you contact your advisor. He or she should email that to you. And then the student introduction form, I'm going to remake that video because it's not as complicated as it used to be. I changed it from my last class. So once you've completed the authentication survey, now it's become the actual course content. Open the introduction forum. And this is the video. This is the forum that I'll explain in this video, so I won't bother doing it now. And then you have to reply to appear, but I'll expand on that in just a second. Now, the thing that I want to iterate here, or reiterate, is that this is intro content. Look at the dates here. Due during week 1 and also due during week 1. So everything in these first two blocks here, categories, that has to be done by the end of week 1. So at the first Sunday, the first Sunday by midday. The first Sunday of the course. I don't know what Sunday. That's not like first Friday or anything. You know, it's first Sunday of the course. So make sure that you do both of these weeks, or both of these modules, we'll call them, within the first week of class. Now, I will tell you that this class is actually front-loaded. You do a lot more work at the beginning than you do at the end, because you have to do a lot of reading. And there's like exams and tests and various little paper things we have to do. But once we start getting to the end, we start dialing back on reading and all the like the smaller assignments, and we just focus on the research paper. So once we hit like week 7 or 8, we kind of dial it back on that in the class. In my opinion, it gets a little easier because you're just focusing on the one assignment rather than many assignments. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and close this intro video, and I'm going to make another video going over the forum here, the discussion questions, and then I'm also going to make a video for week 1. But anyways, that is the class in a nutshell. I know it's kind of a long video, but I rest assured that all the videos won't be this long. But for now, that's the course. So let me know if you have any questions. Make sure you email me. My email and my text are on the syllabus, and so if you have any questions, email or text me, or you can phone call me. But I don't answer phone calls much. I don't know if it's because your number's not saved in my phone, right? So it's like, is that somebody trying to sell me something, or something weird like that? So I don't usually answer phone calls unless you leave a message. So if you call me, leave a message, I'll call you back. But anyways, that's the class, and welcome to it. I will see you guys in the future.